Hello everyone, welcome to the series where we discuss one UPSC Prelims PYQ at a time and also a little bit about the topic so that we are prepared for any future questions from the same topic.
Now, the PYQ that we are going to discuss today is this one, but before solving it, let's learn a little bit about cells. I'm sure we all have heard this sentence that cell is the structural and functional unit of life. What does it really mean? To understand this, think of cell as the smallest building block of every living thing that you see around you, be it a bacteria, be it a banana plant, be it yourself. So just like bricks make up a wall, cells make up the tissues, the organs, and finally the whole organism. And that is why it is called the structural unit of life. But cells do not just sit there, they work. Every process that keeps us alive, be it breathing, be it digesting food, be it producing energy, be it growing, all begins inside the cell. And so each cell performs the basic functions of life, which is why it is also called the functional unit. Now, for a cell to become a cell, like for an entity to be called a cell, it needs to fulfill three conditions. That is, it must have a cell membrane, it must have a cytoplasm, and it also must have a genetic material. Now, but does that mean that all the cells are the same? That is, all the cells that fulfill these conditions are the same? No. Cells can also be classified into two broad classes. One is the prokaryotic cell and the other is the eukaryotic cell. Now let's first understand these words. The word prokaryotic, it comes from the Greek word pro, meaning before, and karyon, meaning nucleus. So prokaryotic cell literally means cells that evolved earlier and do not have a true nucleus because they are before true nucleus. So they do not have membrane-bound nucleus. Whereas eukaryotic word comes from the Greek word eu, meaning true, and karyon, meaning nucleus. So two nucleus is present in these cells, and hence they are called eukaryotic. This is the basic and the fundamental difference between a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. But we also must remember that there are other differences as well. For instance, the eukaryotic cells, they have membrane-bound organelles, such as the mitochondria, like the chloroplast, which are lacking in the prokaryote. Furthermore, the cell wall of the prokaryote is mostly made up of peptidoglycan, whereas the cell wall, when present in the eukaryotic cell, that is in the plant cells and in the fungus, it is mostly made up of cellulose and chitin. So this is something that, this is the basic difference that you need to remember about prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Since questions have already been asked between animal and plant cells, the difference between animal and plant cells, it is very likely that UPSC next asks difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Now let us understand the difference between a plant and an animal cell. First and foremost, both the cells are eukaryotic cells. Now, the plant cells, they have a rigid cell wall which is made up of cellulose, which the animal cells do not have. Furthermore, the plant cells have a very large central vacuole, as you can see in the diagram, but animal cells do not have this large central vacuole, but have numerous small vacuoles. Again, plant cells, since they are autotrophs and capable of photosynthesis, they contain a special membrane-bound organelle which is called a chloroplast, in which the process of photosynthesis takes place. But animal cells, since they are heterotrophs, do not have any chloroplast. Furthermore, plant cells lack centrosomes and lysosomes. Now, centrosomes and centrioles, these are organelles which are involved in the microtubular movement during cell divisions. These are present in animal cells. And lysosomes are the digestive bags of the cell. They help in the digestion. They act as bags of acid which help in digesting materials, which is lacking in the plant cells but is again present in the animal cells. So with this information, let us now try to solve the question. Which of the following statements are correct regarding the general difference between plant and animal cell? Plant cells have cellulose cell walls while animal cells do not. That is true, right? We just discussed about it. So this statement is true. Plant cells do not have plasma membrane unlike animal cells which do. This statement is outrightly wrong. This is because we know that for any entity to become a cell, it must have three things: a plasma membrane, a genetic material, and cytoplasm. So it is not possible that plant cells do not have a plasma membrane. The next statement says mature plant cells have one large vacuole, whilst animal cells have many small vacuoles. Again, this is true, as we have already seen in the diagram. So the answer to this question is 1 and 3 only. Thank you.